How y'all doing? This is my thoughts on the NBA free agency 2017. How y'all doing? Okay. Lots of things have happened. The Atlanta Hawks have changed. The Brooklyn Nets have changed. The Hornets have changed. The Denver Nuggets have changed. I'm trying to go in alphabetical order. See if I can get them all. Cavs have not changed. Basically, I mean, they signed Jose Calderon, who's from the Hawks, but it was a whole bunch of teams. Point is this, moving him is like, it's interesting, as a veteran, it's interesting at his age, but he's a really good point guard. We saw that last year in the playoffs. He can really play. How y'all doing? All right, but I have to say Kyle re-signing was pretty big for them, People underestimate how good Kyle Korver is, He's a great three-point shooter. I know they like to trash talk. I know people like to trash talk what his performance about the finals, and he was missing some shots, some threes, some wide open threes, some threes he would normally make. Sort of remarkable. They signed him for a 3-year deal, so Calderon was signed to a 1-year deal. They're trying to trade Shumpert for the Cavs, but again to my Atlanta Hawks. So Paul Millsap, Anchorman Paul Millsap, what's up now? How y'all doing? Paul Millsap Atlanta they said, Paul, you've been working so hard. You've been working so hard, Paul, that we're going to let you take a 3-year, $90 million deal and not offer you any. We're not going to offer you any money. We think you're too old, but you did right by us. You did right by us. And Paul was like, yo, man, hey, they didn't have to do me dirty like that, bro. I thought it meant a lot more to this franchise, bro. Like, I thought it meant more to them than this, bro. I mean, I like the Nuggets, but they all right, but, the Nuggets are like, it's the Western Conference. Like, why would I want to go there? So here's what happened, y'all. Western Conference turned into, like, monsters, bro. Like, the Western Conference is crazy. Let me count the ways. Whew. Let me see. Paul George. Chris Paul, yeah, he was already in there, but he's with James Harden now, and Paul George is with OKC. So the Rockets and the Thunder got better, and I'd like to say Jimmy Butler, Jimmy Turner, not Jimmy Neutron. All right, Jimmy Buckets was traded to Timberwolves. Now this happened before free agency. This is during the draft, as you all know. And Jimmy Butler was like the franchise player, and he was like traded to Timberwolves. And the Timberwolves have assembled one of the best teams in the NBA over the offseason. They acquired one of my favorite point guards of all time, Jeff Teague. Alright, so you all know Jeff Teague was drafted by the Atlanta Hawks. One of the best players they've ever had, and especially at the 19th slot, It's very true to Atlanta. We used to call him MVP Teague, all that stuff. People would rather take, even Rubio over Teague, Kyle Lowry over Teague, but I'd say he's one of the best point guards, Yeah, but people say, hey, it's because he played in the East, that's why it's... He's an all-star. He was one of the best players we had here, In a 60-win team, remember that? A couple years back, Paul Millsap, Kyle Korver, DeMar Carroll, Al Horford, and Jeff Teague. And he was really the cornerstone of that whole franchise. He really made the whole offense go. He has some down moments. I think series against the Celtics wasn't that good for him. He had a couple botched plays, I think, but the series against the Pacers in 2014 was the greatest playoff series. I think the best I've seen a player perform in the playoffs in the first round. like for 7 games, I think he gave it all he had. I don't know how to explain it, but Jeff Teague is really good pickup. Is a really good pickup for the Timberwolves. They signed him for 3 years. I don't want to address the money or the salary caps. I'm not that kind of dude who addresses the salary caps. I really care much for the money, but some of that's important. You know, people got re-signed like Curry, Kevin Durant just got re-signed today. You know, and Curry took $201 million. How you doing? $201 million for 5 years. Well, Kevin Durant took $56 million for 2 years. So he took a major pay cut, like at least $9 million they say per year. But even with that, I mean, that was a major thing for the Warriors because they needed all these guys and they got all these guys. They haven't lost one. I think they're apparently going to sign Nick Young. Might lose Ian Clark, but then you got Nick Young. So, oh my God, what is going on? The Western Conference. I need to explain this, bro. They did this because they're trying to do the Lord's work. I don't want to use it any wrong way, but the Warriors have destroyed the NBA. The Warriors they've torn it apart, and now they have to construct duos. These are not. I mean, I'm not saying like, how do I put this? LeBron has Kyrie. Before Kevin Durant went to the Warriors, Steph had Clay, and they won a championship. I want to put it. Yeah, and you know, a lot of these teams have duos, great dynamic duos, and that's what makes them contenders. Most championship teams have duos. So the West. They want their players to either compete or win a championship. So you're in a place where you have to end up signing guys that can put you in that position to compete or win a championship. Because the Warriors were 12-0 against the Western Conference, and they got embarrassed, humiliated, and they were supposed to be the better, more superior conference. When you look at it, and now the Cavs would beat the Warriors at least one game. And they had Kyrie and LeBron, which is the duo. Westbrook used to have KD, you know, Harden. I mean, he sort of had Dwight Howard. It's hard to explain, you know. Dwight's with Hornets now. Y'all all know that. But what I'm trying to put is this. I mean, you need all-star caliber players to be duos. I mean, even the Eastern Conference has that with Bradley Beal, John Wall, Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan. The East actually has that when you think about it. East has all those components, but the problem is, look at the depth chart. We're also talking about other things like they got Carlos Boozer over at the Minnesota Timberwolves. When you have the Clippers, you look at them and you're like, oh no, they're not gonna make the playoffs. No, the Clippers, but they got a good depth chart. So you look at, they got currently Lou Williams and Jamal Crawford on the same team. I don't know how it's gonna work. It's two achieving 6 men, and them being on the same team in LA, bro. That's actually really epic. People don't understand, like, when you have a bench that good, you could be as good as, like, you know, you look at the Rockets last year. I mean, they acquired Lou Williams later, you know, but they wish they could trade for him sooner. But you look at it all, and you're like, well, hey, you have this bench. I think you can compete in the Western Conference. So you're at a point where I'd say that I'd even put the Pelicans in there to look at them. They got Anthony Davis, DeMarcus Cousins, bro. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about the Rockets and I'm talking about the Clippers. I'm talking about the Pelicans. I'm talking about Timberwolves. I'm talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're all contenders, bro. They're nothing short of contenders because, you know, you need people who can dominate the game like that. And for all-stars like Paul George and Jimmy Butler to go to West Coast and Paul Millsap, darn it, and they're making them playoff team. I think Paul Millsap is going to be making the Denver Nuggets playoff team. People are very hopeful that Timberwolves make it to the playoffs because then the Hawks would get the pick from Timberwolves. But there are a lot of outside teams that I realize, because it's not really that simple anymore. So we say, well, the Clippers can make the playoffs, and then we're like, well, look at all the other teams like Portland, like Memphis, like I'm not gonna say the Sacramento Kings, but yeah, I'm not gonna say them. But you look at Portland and Memphis, or look at outside looking in. They got Ben McLemore is in. I mean, Portland hasn't acquired anyone because they didn't really have the cap space, but they might get somebody. Imagine if they get LaMarcus Aldridge back. I mean, why did the guy sign with the Spurs anyway? What was he trying to do? Get a championship? Like, so I'd say he's a trade target as well as Carmelo, but I like to position it as, going back to think about it. Going back to the Grizz, I mean, they might lose Zach Randolph, some key players here and there. So Tony Allen, bro, is super defensive minded. I mean, they're going to lose some guys. I mean, the Bulls are whatever that they're doing. I think they're rebuilding. Just talking about the Eastern Conference. I mean, the Indiana Pacers. It's looking good for some other teams that had trouble with these teams last season because they're losing their star players with the Bulls and the Indiana Pacers. So teams like the Pistons, maybe even the Magic might benefit from this. People are gonna look at the Hawks and say we lost Paul Millsap, and I tell you that Paul was everything for this team. He was everything you could possibly want for this franchise. He was what we needed. He was the anchor man. He was Paul Millsap. But the problem was we relied on Paul Millsap too much, and it made the offense stagnant. And what made the 60-win team so good is because you didn't have to rely on just one player to carry you places. You could rely on the bench, all kinds of depth charts, all kinds of things. Before Paul Millsap era, you had Joe Johnson, you had Josh Smith, you had Jamal Crawford. Good off the dribble creators, shot creators. Good scorers. Like you could make a championship team off something like that. You had Al, you had Jeff, but you also want to make a good depth chart. People who can facilitate, people who can also score well. Marco Bellinelli is a good choice. I really like that guy. So I'm gonna probably make a part 2 because it's only been the first 3 days. I'll do a whole review of the whole thing. It's gonna be very, exhausting. But the point is this. Wizards got more bench now. They got Tim Frazier and they got Jody Meeks. Jody Meeks can shoot, I want to tell you. So, a lot of teams are trying to get better, trying to get to that another level. You still got Danilo Gallinari. You still have Gordon Hayward out there. The Boston Celtics and Miami Heat, they're at odds. They're at war for Gordon Hayward. They're already putting banners up for this face on there, the Photoshop jersey, bro. They're ready for this guy to come over there to the place. They're going to the beaches, they're going to the ball games, they're going to everywhere they can to sell this guy on their city. So it's all out war. Pat Riley and Danny Ainge, bro. Celtic pride versus that coach from the Lakers. But Deion's still in play. A lot of guys are still out there. But for the Hawks, continue to carry Caldwell Pope and all that. But the Hawks, I think they're gonna bounce back. They get Hardaway, bro. Keep Schroeder, bro. If Portland could have that one season where 4 out of 5 of their starters are gone and they still make the playoffs as the 5th seed, we can do that right now. Matter of fact, we can do better. We can win the championship. I'm not even playing with you right now. I'm not even playing. It's not a rebuild, bro. If we get Tim Hardaway Jr., bro, it's going to be enough. I promise you that. All right. Happy 4th of July. Later.